There is a force buried within you that has the capacity to lift you higher. Like a mountain rising over the plains beneath it, there is a greater self that exists, surpassing the confines of your everyday existence. Henry T. Hamblin's teachings offer a transformative path to unlock your hidden potential, aligning your mind and soul with the universal principles that govern all life. Through self-discovery and unwavering character development, you'll uncover your true self, revealing your divine inheritance as a child of God. The cosmic plan cannot be avoided. There are no shortcuts or detours around its obstacles. Every one of us has to go through our own special journey through the depths of our souls, facing suffering and loss. However, you don't have to let these difficulties overwhelm you. You live inside an unbreakable fortress based on the solid foundation of truth when you accept the deep secret of your oneness with life and the universal force. The storms of life roar against this fortress in vain. This book offers no empty promises of an easy life, for such a thing would be a disaster. Instead, it empowers you to become so strong that life itself seems effortless by comparison. While life's challenges may not change, you will be transformed, emerging as a resilient and empowered individual. You will learn how to avoid unnecessary hardship, for most lives are burdened with avoidable suffering. By approaching life with the right mindset and aligning your actions with universal laws, you can minimize your struggles. This book is your key to unlocking a life of harmony, purpose, and fulfillment. It will guide you towards your inner greatness, granting you the unwavering confidence that comes with self-discovery. You will learn to harness and express your inner spiritual and mental strengths, stepping onto a path of limitless growth and power. Chapter 1. Mastering your mind to manifest miracles. Within you resides an unlimited power, a force of the spirit, unconquerable and enduring. This power transcends the ordinary life, the finite will, and the human mind. It is of a higher order, spiritual in nature, surpassing the physical and even the mental realms. This power lies dormant within you, awaiting your evolution and development to the point where you are ready to wield it. While the powers of the subconscious mind are significant, the powers of the spirit are far greater and more refined. Thought itself is a spiritual power of immense potency. Through thought, you can either ascend and connect with the universal powerhouse or isolate yourself from the divine flow. Your thoughts are your greatest weapon, for through them you can draw upon the infinite or sever your conscious connection to your divine source. Through the divine spark within you, your true self, you are connected to the infinite. Divine life and power are yours if you only realize they are. Yet, as long as you remain unaware of your unity with the divine source of all life, you cannot access the power that is rightfully yours. By awakening to this inner knowledge, you discover that you possess infinite power and limitless resources. This power is of God, and it is yours, but it is not revealed until you are fit to be entrusted with it. When you realize your oneness with the divine source, you become filled with its power. Many fear that revealing such secrets may lead to misuse of spiritual power. However, while strong personalities may unconsciously tap into hidden powers, their ability to use spiritual power for evil is limited. There are those who abuse their powers, the so-called black magicians, but they ultimately reduce themselves to destitution and impotence. Others tirelessly seek knowledge on this subject, reading every occult book they can find, yet they never find what they seek. Spiritual powers and influences prevent seekers from seeing until they are ready for the revelation. When you, in your pursuit of truth, have renounced selfish endeavors and ceased to use your will in conflict with the greater will of the whole, you are then prepared for the revelation of your unity with the infinite. Implicitly surrendering to the will of the whole may seem like an act of weakness, but it is the gateway to a life of nearly unlimited power. You are not separate from your divine source and never have been. The separation you feel is a mental illusion, born of blindness and disbelief. You are one with the infinite. The separation you experience is mental, and due to your blindness and disbelief. You cannot be separated from spirit, for you are spirit, an integral part of a complete whole. You live and move and have your being in God, the omnipresent spirit that dwells within you. Most people are unaware of this intimate relationship with the divine. By being unaware or refusing to believe, they are, in a sense, separated from the inner life of God. However, this separation exists only in their thoughts and beliefs, not in reality. As soon as you realize the truth of your relationship with the infinite, you move from weakness to power, from death to life. One moment you are alone in the desert, weak and separated. The next you realize you are a child of God, with all the privileges and powers of a child. You awaken to the fact that all the power of the infinite is yours to draw upon, that you can never truly fail, that you are marching towards victory. You see how great the power of human thought is, for while thought is not the power of the Spirit, it is the power by which you connect with infinite power. You are what you believe yourself to be. If you think you are separate from God and cut off from His power, then it is as if this were truly the case. But if you think and believe you are one with the infinite, you discover that this is gloriously true. If you think you are a mere material being, then you live the limited life of a material being and can never rise above it. But if you think and believe you are a spiritual being, then you discover that you possess all the powers of a spiritual being. The power within you is infinite, for through faith in it, you connect directly with the spiritual power of the universe. The divine spark within you connects you to the sacred flame, making you a god in potential. A change must take place within you before you can enter your divine inheritance. You must learn to think according to the Spirit, as a spiritual being, rather than according to the flesh, as a material creature. Like the prodigal son, you must come to your senses, leave behind the husks and the swine in the far country, and return to your Father's house, where there is enough and to spare of the bread of life. Chapter 2. Finding Joy in Life's Challenges. The ultimate goal in life is to become wise via experience. This is attained by conquering obstacles in life rather than by giving in to them. God makes promises to those who succeed in life, not to those who fall short in the struggles. Although there are no assurances of an easy, joyful life forever, most people aim for a life devoid of pain and anxiety. They search tirelessly, yet they never locate what they're seeking for. Their enjoyment is constantly tainted by something that keeps them from experiencing pure bliss. Or maybe a series of events work together to thwart their intentions. A paradox exists in life. Happiness is not the ultimate goal of life. Rather, it is the result of achieving the ultimate goal. People who pursue enjoyment year after year without considering life's real purpose are never content. It disappears like a passing sigh. On the other hand, people who discover and follow their genuine calling in life find happiness on their own terms. God was once utilized as a crutch by humanity. They thought that when difficulties happened, they could pray to God to make the bad things go away, and then float through life without learning from its discipline. This same idea persists today. People have abandoned old orthodoxies and turned to various cults and isms to escape their difficulties. They no longer believe they can earn God's special favor through prayer, but they firmly believe they can get what they want from the invisible realm by claiming it. They think they can have it their way, meaning a good time without unpleasant experiences, trials, difficulties, or adversity, but they're chasing a rainbow. The easy life they seek constantly eludes them because it simply doesn't exist. The only easy life is that of the strong soul who has conquered their life. It's not truly easy, but it appears so due to their strength. It's impossible to have an easy life, and even if it were possible, life wouldn't be worth living. The sole purpose of life is to build character and attain wisdom through experience. Life should always be filled with challenges. This book is written to help those who have found life overwhelming. Most people seek an easy life, which they'll never find, but for those wise and awakened souls who seek truth, wherever it may come from, and who wish to overcome life's difficulties, instead of weakly succumbing to them, this book will hopefully bring a message of hope and empowerment. We won't delve into why we must face disasters and adversity in this life, or why some people seem to have easier lives than others. We must accept that we have to face problems and overcome difficulties, and only then can we achieve wisdom and forge our character. The question isn't whether we'll face problems and adversity, but how we'll face them. Will we emerge victorious or be submerged? Will we overcome life's difficulties or surrender to them? Most people are drifters on the sea of life, carried to and fro by every current. Only a few realize they possess the power of the infinite within them, through which they can rise above all their difficulties, overcome their weaknesses, and through victorious experience attain wisdom. At this point, a practical reader might say that attaining wisdom is all well and good, but what they want is practical help. They might be unemployed, ill, or in debt, or they might be financially secure yet find themselves in deep anguish and misery. To all of them, I would say that they possess the power to overcome all their difficulties and, through overcoming, attain wisdom. A person's success depends more than anything on their faith. Faith in the good purpose of life, faith in the power of the infinite within them, and faith in their ability to overcome all obstacles. A person's level of faith in their own power determines how much of it they can manifest in their life. Their existence will be feeble and unfulfilling if their faith is small. Great power will manifest in their lives if they have a strong faith in the force within them. The infinite has boundless and boundless power. An unquenchable belief and unwavering trust in it are all that are needed. This power is available to the most timid and helpless people. The fearful and feeble possess the same power as the courageous and powerful. The former's lack of trust and belief in their own limitless power is the cause of their weakness. Every life will have challenges and issues, and occasionally there will be tragedy and suffering when it seems like the planet is slipping away. Nonetheless, it is possible to emerge from the wreckage of long-cherished expectations stronger and larger by calling upon the inner power. The way we handle the challenges and obstacles in life determines our level of happiness and actual success. Everyone faces adversity, but with the right attitude, even failure may serve as a springboard for achievement. The storms of life swiftly overwhelm and shatter those who fight hardship and misfortune with the feeble light of their limited intellects and phony personas. However, people who believe and have faith in their own strength are impervious to defeat or overwhelming force. Because it is endless, the power is always enough regardless of the extent of the demand. Individuals who come to terms with their actual spiritual identity understand that they will never truly fail, perish, or be defeated. The true self is impervious to death and failure, even after 1,000 defeats. They may lose their bodies through the transformation known as death. They had to get back up. If you have trust in the spiritual force that resides within you, you will experience all the delights of triumph and achievement. Everything will belong to you. All these things will be added to you if you first seek the kingdom within, which is your spiritual unity with the infinite and harmony with the divine will and purpose. You'll know that every arrangement has already been made, so you won't have to worry about tomorrow. The everyday necessities will always be available, thus there won't be a need to build wealth. God, the infinite life, will be your health, so you won't need to live close to a doctor. You won't need to grieve since you'll know that everything is okay. You will understand that the infinite is error-free, so you won't have to worry about what might happen in the future. Chapter 3. Fate or Free Will. Unraveling the paradox of destiny, the age-old controversy around free will versus fate has raged for generations. Fatalists contend that we are powerless to stray from our predestined course because we are enmeshed in the wheel of fate. They firmly believe in their hypothesis and have strong proof to back up their assertion. However, proponents of free will fervently contend that humans are as free as the air and are not at all bound. They too have a strong hypothesis, supported by a wealth of facts, which validates their beliefs. Though neither side can be completely incorrect, they each believe the other to be incorrect. This is an important question, and one that is directly related to the book's theme, so let's investigate it. Let's start by admitting that each side has some truth and some error. Although we have free will, we are nevertheless confined to the wheel. This seeming paradox is an ancient truth of inner teachings. Before we evolve and unfold, we are tightly bound to the wheel of destiny. We follow our desires, creating a future we can't escape. However, as we evolve and become more emancipated, we begin to resist our base desires and strive for higher things. This creates a better future, freeing us from our previous state of bondage. We are slaves to destiny as long as we are slaves to earthly desires, yet we are free to overcome lower impulses and rise to higher ones. When we do, we stop creating a painful future and become free. There is a self-created destiny, and it's essential to acknowledge this before moving forward. Those with limited life experience or who haven't been keen observers may deny its existence. But those who have faced major life changes, against which they've fought in vain, know there's a purpose working behind life's events, one against which even kings and powerful individuals are powerless. There are times in life when we move heaven and earth, figuratively speaking. We pray until we can pray no more, sacrifice our money, health and prospects, and do everything in our power to avert impending disaster. Yet despite our best efforts, despite our cries to an unyielding sky, the relentless march of destiny cannot be stopped. It advances like a juggernaut, crushing our hopes, our dearest idols, our very lives, or everything that makes life worthwhile, leaving us desolate. So, if destiny is so ruthless and powerful, what can we do about it? And where does free will fit into this picture? The answer is that it's futile to fight against destiny. The more we struggle against it, the more we break ourselves. There are certain major events in every life that must happen. These events and changes are inevitable, and it's pointless to fight them. While these things that constitute destiny are unavoidable, how we face them is up to us. If we face them poorly, they will destroy us. But if we face them correctly, we become more resilient through discipline and experience. We become better equipped to handle life's responsibilities and overcome its challenges and temptations. Those who face life's setbacks, sorrows, griefs, and catastrophes with the right spirit become strong and enriched individuals. They are softened by experience, made strong and stable, and become a helpful influence to all they encounter. When circumstances are favorable and life is a feast of joy, the need for philosophy or religion seems to vanish. We might think we can do without it and sail through life without a hitch. But there come times in life when we need not only a solid philosophy, but also a power that the finite self knows nothing about, to lift the soul from the dust and ashes of despair. There's a profound difference between facing life's challenges with the right spirit and possessing the inner power to conquer them. Those who believe their power lies solely in external circumstances rather than within themselves will never triumph over adversity. But those who recognize their own incredible inner strength, a force that can lift them from even the deepest despair, will never truly fail. No matter what life throws at them, they will rise above it and rebuild their lives with greater beauty and brilliance. This brings us to the distinction between our grand destiny and the circumstances of life. Our grand destiny, as it's sometimes called, predates our current existence, and its origins lie beyond the scope of this discussion. Suffice it to say that throughout time, we reap what we sow. Our future hinges on how we face life's challenges in the present. Our grand destiny cannot be fought, as it's the work of an omnipotent law. However, our lives and circumstances depend on how we respond to this destiny and how we recover from its blows. No matter how cruel fate may seem, we can create beauty in our lives. Fueled by our inner power, we can rise from the ashes of shattered hopes and rebuild, creating a life that resonates more deeply with our highest ideals. Beyond the destiny shaped by our thoughts and actions, there exists a grander plan. This awe-inspiring plan encompasses everything, from the vast conception of a boundless universe to the tiniest electron. It unfolds with absolute precision throughout the ages, and nothing can prevent its manifestation. It weaves our past into our present life, just as it weaves our present into our future destiny. With infinite skill, it integrates everything into this grand design. This plan is meant to be followed. This too is destiny. But how we follow it, whether willingly and joyfully, or with resistance and misery, is our choice. This is free will. Those who have studied the occult sciences, particularly astrology, might argue that a person's life is determined by the star under which they were born. This is true only if one succumbs to the influences encountered throughout life. These influences can be both favorable and adverse. However, they are merely influences. Those who stand firm during adversity, refusing to yield and trusting in their inner power, will weather any storm. We cannot prevent these influences from appearing, but we can rise above them. We will face setbacks, but we can transform them into stepping stones towards success. We will experience pain and sorrow, but from them, we can build a stronger character and ascend to greater heights. Those who surrender, refusing to rise and rebuild, condemn themselves to further suffering and ultimately fail. Let the despairing take heart. Believe in the power within you, and you will soar to unimaginable heights. With this power as your ally, you can achieve the seemingly impossible. Our lives are not governed by a capricious being who blows hot and cold, favoring one person while tormenting another. The Supreme Being operates through laws that are just and immutable. Every misfortune and problem in life is the effect of certain causes, often our own past wrongdoings. These actions set in motion forces against which human power, ingenuity, and wisdom are powerless. However, as the fundamental law of the universe is love, the law of cause and effect is not vengeful. Its purpose is our highest good, to guide us towards unity with the divine, in harmony with the infinite. By elevating ourselves and aligning with the divine, we diminish the power of even our grand destiny. We cannot oppose it, for that would mean fighting against omnipotence, but we can preempt it by voluntarily doing what life's experiences would otherwise teach us. Sometimes painful experiences are necessary to teach the soul lessons it hasn't yet learned. These lessons are only learned if the painful experiences are faced with the right attitude. When we believe life is unjust and we don't deserve what it deals us, we intensify our problems both now and in the future. But when we realize and admit that life is just, and the cause of our problems lies within ourselves, like the prodigal son, we come to our senses and begin our journey back home. Another reason for adversity is a deficient character. Strength and stability of character can be forged through encountering problems and difficulties, provided they are faced with the right spirit. Our future depends entirely on how we think and act in this life. It is in our own hands. If we violate the law of love, we create future disasters and suffering for ourselves. By thinking and acting rightly now, we not only improve our current conditions, but also create a future that is more harmonious and free than anything we've experienced before. It's crucial to remember that some significant misfortunes, even in this life, are caused by decisions and deeds done during this current existence. Young people have the potential to make awful mistakes that have catastrophic consequences later in life, or to wrong someone and then be mistreated again years later. Here on the plane of cause and consequence, it's always eye for eye and tooth for tooth. However, by emphasizing the power of love, the teachings of the Great Way enable us to rise above these lesser things and lead peaceful, harmonious lives. Chapter 4. The Unchangeable Law of Cause and Effect. Life's misfortunes are not random acts of a capricious God, but the direct results of our own actions. We reap exactly what we sow, and life, in its perfect justice, rewards each person according to their deeds. Our present destiny is the harvest of seeds planted in the past, perhaps long ago. The disasters and sufferings we experience are not divine punishment, but the precise workings of a perfectly just law. Once created, destiny is unchangeable. We cannot fight it or evade it. To struggle against destiny is to destroy ourselves, like banging our heads against a stone cliff. The more we struggle, the more we hurt ourselves, while the cliff remains unaffected. Destiny, though largely self-created, is ultimately the divine purpose of life. Resisting it is akin to fighting against God. It is not a punishment in any vengeful sense, but a collection of corrective experiences, through which the soul can learn lessons it hasn't yet mastered, and thus attain wisdom. The purpose of destiny is our highest good, even though it may bring suffering and painful experiences. Since life's disasters stem from past wrongdoings, our future depends entirely on how we live today. If we've created a sequence of events and experiences from which we cannot escape, our future lives depend on how we live in the present. If we learn life's lessons and cease creating future problems, we begin to ascend the path of liberation. a path all advanced souls have the privilege of following. By following this path, we break free from the wheel of destiny. While this text doesn't explicitly teach reincarnation, its teachings are based on the belief that we are spiritual beings, divine sparks of the sacred fire. The spirit, being immortal, has no beginning or end, and therefore always lives. This present life is one of countless experiences, each shaping our character. There is no death, only changes from one vehicle to another. There is no true beginning or end, nor time. These are merely limitations of the human mind. We cannot die, only leave our bodies. We cannot commit suicide, though we may try. We can only force ourselves out of our bodies. We must continue, whether we like it or not, progressing through the ages, reaping exactly what we sow. This knowledge gives us the ability to take charge of our own fate. We can build a peaceful and harmonious future by leading moral lives and taking responsibility for our faults. We actively participate in forming both our own lives and the world around us, rather than being passive objects of fate. Although we are powerless to stop or directly oppose fate, we can free ourselves from its hold by abiding by the laws of God. The majority of our issues stem not from fate per se, but rather from our unwillingness to accept life's larger purpose. When we try to avoid or reject life's lessons, we exacerbate our issues until we take note of them and make the necessary adjustments to our behavior. We all possess the ability to make the most of the present and build a brighter future for ourselves. We can change our situation by living in accordance with divine rule. Every idea and deed has both short and long-term consequences. Even if the whole significance of our existence becomes apparent once we go from this world, our current lives undergo tremendous transformations as well. How a young person uses or squanders their opportunities greatly shapes their adult life. Missed opportunities cannot be regained, and past mistakes and wrongs have a way of returning to haunt us. For example, someone who ruthlessly climbs the ladder of success, trampling on others in their path, may later find themselves on the receiving end of similar treatment. There is an immediate sowing and reaping that bears fruit in this life. This harvest may take years, but what we sow, we will inevitably reap. Those who complain about life's unfairness only amplify their problems. Until we realize that the root of our problems lies within ourselves, we cannot change our circumstances. True change begins from within. Our thoughts, ideals, and attitudes toward life must transform. This inner shift not only repairs our present life, but also creates a more just and noble future. This is the secret of all esoteric teachings. The new birth or regeneration signifies the soul's awakening to conscious immortality. The old self, bound to the wheel of destiny and the plane of cause and effect, dies. A new self is born, one whose consciousness has ascended from the plane of sin, death, sensuality, and desire to the higher plane of spirit. Here, we realize our divine nature and recognize the spark within as our true self. We understand that we have always lived in our true spiritual being. Concepts like beginning and end, change and decay, belong solely to the material plane and have no place in reality. Endless being is the reality, and anything else is a mere illusion. It's not necessary to believe in reincarnation or that all our experiences must occur on this plane. It's enough to know that we cannot die, we cannot escape ourselves, and that failing to seek union with our divine source only prolongs our suffering. We must change our desires and aspirations. Instead of hate and evil, we must turn towards love and goodness. Instead of wallowing in lust and selfishness, we must rise to higher and better things. This transformation is not achieved by our finite selves, but by the infinite power within. Only when we realize our unity with the infinite and believe that omnipotent power is available to us does our inner spiritual power become accessible. Doubt, fear, and disbelief block this power. It is ours, but our state of heart and mind prevents us from realizing its presence or utilizing it. Just as the machinery of a workshop must be connected to the power source to function, we must unite with infinite life and power to live the new life. This doesn't eliminate life's experiences, trials, problems, and adversities, But the inner change prevents the creation of unnecessary problems and suffering. Even cruel fate loses its power to harm us. The more we ascend in union with God and infinite love, the less power negativity has in our lives. It may still have an effect, but it no longer wounds as deeply. With enlightened eyes, we see that good has come to bless, not evil to destroy. Painful destiny loses its sting when we stop resisting it and embrace it, seeking to learn the lessons it has to teach. Chapter 5. The Price of Hollow Success. True success isn't about amassing wealth or fame. It's about making the world a better, richer place, contributing to the greater good. Even in a humble sphere, we can achieve success by overcoming our weaknesses, helping others, and doing our work to the best of our ability. If at the end of our lives we can look back with gratitude, knowing we made the most of our time, then we have truly succeeded. Those who chase wealth and fame often end up as life's biggest failures. They may gain riches, but they find that money cannot buy true satisfaction or the things that truly matter. This kind of hollow success comes at too high a price. As the greatest teacher once said, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" We should strive for better things and express ourselves more fully. Simply drifting through life without aiming for improvement is not worthy of the name citizen. To be worthy, we must constantly strive to better ourselves and rise above our limitations. Failure in life often stems from a weakness of character. Only strong characters can withstand life's blows and overcome its challenges. Those who seek a life of respect, achievement, and service will face difficulties at every turn. This is as it should be, as it weeds out the weak and unworthy, rewarding those who demonstrate faith, courage, perseverance, patience, joy, and strength of character. Success, especially material success, is not always beneficial for the one who achieves it. It doesn't satisfy for long, but it is valuable in other ways. Success based on service benefits the community. Without such individuals, ordinary people would struggle. Additionally, the pursuit of success builds character. To succeed in life's battles, we must be prepared to be tested and tried in every way imaginable. Those who survive these trials strengthen their character in almost every aspect. However, even in success, we will be tempted and tested. Those engaged in the fierce world of business or public life can become hardened and insensitive if they are not vigilant. Of all the failures, this is perhaps the worst. Those who climb the ladder of success are tempted far more than those who remain in the valley of mediocrity. This applies not only to those seeking spiritual achievement, but also to those who succeed in worldly affairs. They are entrusted with great power and influence, a heavy responsibility. If this power is used for personal gain, the results are disastrous. Life is a continuous struggle. For most, it's a struggle with everyday circumstances and difficulties. More advanced souls rise above these concerns, but are tempted and tested in subtler ways. Those who believe following a certain path guarantees a smooth journey are deceiving themselves. As we overcome the challenges that baffle others, we will be tested in new and more subtle ways. Life is not meant for fleeting pleasure, but for building character through experience. To triumph, we must be strong, wise, and patient. If we want our lives to be truly worthwhile, if we want to serve others more effectively, if we want to forge our character through experience and overcome our weaknesses, we must look within for the power and wisdom that reside there. While humans possess spiritual powers, they must never be used for selfish gain or personal enrichment. An unchangeable law known throughout history and spiritual teachings forbids using these powers to create wealth or even basic necessities. Even Jesus, tempted in the same way we are, resisted turning stones into bread, understanding that doing so would derail his greater mission. Today, countless individuals misuse their spiritual powers to manifest not just bread, but cars, bank accounts, land, and houses. This path leads to disaster, as it works against the combined spiritual power of the universe. The adversary of souls tempts those who have discovered how to channel the universe's limitless power, offering wealth, power, fame, and human applause, all fleeting illusions, in exchange for distorting this divine gift. Just as Jesus did, we must refuse these temptations and prioritize service over self, giving instead of taking. Unfortunately, many are taught to impose their will on life and use hidden powers for personal gain. They're told to demand what they want, with "getting what you want" as their motto. This is a dangerous path, leading countless truth seekers astray. If your ambition is to serve and give, seeking success through merit rather than misuse of power, then you can move forward with the universe's support. Once awakened, this power should be used for noble purposes, serving others and seeking just exchanges rather than taking from others at any cost. Remember, this power should only be used with love, as any other use will destroy the user. It's not meant to be wielded by finite human will, but rather in harmony with the will of the whole. Behind every life is a divine purpose, and the greatest success comes from aligning with that purpose. Don't mistake this for a call to failure or lack of achievement. The universe itself is proof that the infinite mind is always successful. We too can achieve success, but let's mix wisdom with ambition and work for the benefit of all, not just ourselves. It's natural to strive for personal advancement, but true success lies in becoming more efficient to better serve life and others. There's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your circumstances as long as ambition is tempered with wisdom and a focus on serving others. Unchecked ambition, however, leads to a loss of true joy and ultimate regret. Don't misunderstand this as a disdain for great achievements. Some individuals are meant to bear immense responsibilities, but their true success depends on their motives. If they seek only power, fame, and personal gain, their lives are ultimately failures. True success comes from service. Remember, progress, achievement, and striving are essential. The universe's law is progress, so staying stagnant is detrimental. We must move forward, achieve, and learn through experience, even if it means repeated failures. True satisfaction comes from gaining knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The path to true knowledge is to set aside concerns about immediate material gain and instead aim higher. Achievement and success won't just fall into our laps. Those who succeed are the diligent people who work, while others have fun. Any instruction that implies something different is false. Affirmations and mental strategies by themselves won't grant undeserved success. Black magic is the use of supernatural abilities to draw wealth or success, and it has terrible repercussions. Success can only be attained by increasing one's utility and service to humanity. It is more blessed to give than to receive, as the saying goes. Prioritize success, assume more responsibility, and provide better service before waiting for it to happen. You have to plant before you can harvest, grow beyond where you are now to a better place, and spread outward in all directions. Your success will increase as you do. Breaking free from routine requires effort and determination, but as long as your ambition is noble and selfless, you'll find the power within to achieve your goals. Success, whether in the hustle of life or the spiritual path, requires imagination, vision, courage, faith, determination, persistence, hope, joy, and other qualities, all found within us. Remember, this power must not be used for selfish gain or to control others. Misuse leads to terrible consequences. Use it only for good and noble purposes, serving others and contributing to the greater good. Once you reach this point, keep moving forward. The divine impulse propels you towards greater achievements. Just as planets must orbit the sun, you too must progress. Let your goals and ambitions be grounded in eternal wisdom, for your future depends on it. Chapter 6. The Mind-Body Connection. In this brief exploration, we can't fully explain why one person inherits a weak body while another enjoys robust health. However, it's clear that the era of rugged, unrefined health is fading as humanity evolves into a more sensitive and psychologically aware species. The old model of robust health stemmed from our animalistic nature, where the instinctive mind controlled the body. Less evolved humans seemed unaffected by mental turmoil, psychic shifts, and spiritual disharmony that plague more evolved individuals. This is evident in some forms of insanity where patients lose their minds but experience improved physical health. Their instinctive minds take over, resulting in a crude animalistic well-being. Conversely, when these individuals were mentally active, their minds filled with worries, ambitions, plans, lusts, hatreds, and sorrows, their health often suffered. This was due to the disruptive effects of uncontrolled thoughts and emotions. When their conscious minds relinquished control, they stopped dwelling on these issues, allowing the instinctive mind to function undisturbed. Longing for the good old days of robust health is futile. Evolution dictates that we're transitioning to a higher, more sensitive type. In this sensitive state, erroneous thoughts and emotions quickly manifest as pain and suffering. Most people don't understand true health. They suffer from minor ailments like headaches, indigestion, rheumatism, and neuritis, and never feel truly well. They lack the joy of living, excitement, and moments of vivid ecstasy. They merely exist in a dull, dying rhythm. Furthermore, most people are susceptible to infectious diseases and epidemics, despite the fact that true well-being would make them immune. Instead of seeking immunity through health, they rely on vaccines and serums, further burdening their bodies. This approach is doomed to fail, as one disease is suppressed only for another to emerge. While many consider illness and pain inevitable, the truth is that health is our natural state. Poor health stems from disobeying natural laws, with many people violating almost every known health principle. Yet, it's astonishing that they're even functioning at all. While obeying natural laws and using natural healing methods can help, there are deeper causes beyond the physical. Many individuals who follow all the physical laws of health still struggle to find well-being. This necessitates delving into the mind to uncover the roots of ill health. The mind is a prolific source of illness. It's well known that dwelling on disease and pain manifests them in the body. Those who constantly think about illness, operations, and other morbid topics become magnets for these things. Morbid thoughts create a morbid state in the body, making it susceptible to infection or chronic ill health. We're not only affected by our own negative thoughts and emotions, but also by the hypnotic spell of the collective mind. We're all under the influence of a grand illusion of evil, disease, pain, and other imperfections. While not real in an ultimate sense, they are terribly real in our limited consciousness. By realizing the truth and aligning our thoughts and lives with its light and power, we can break this hypnotic spell. This doesn't mean we won't age, but it can significantly improve our health. We're also hypnotically affected by suggestions from various sources. Conversations with friends and acquaintances, their beliefs in the reality and inevitability of disease, and their negative talk can unconsciously influence us. Newspapers, magazines, and books, often filled with the same misconceptions, also impact us. Countless sources subtly suggest that illness, pain, and infection are unavoidable realities. This misdirects our life force into the wrong channels, creating disease and poor health instead of our natural state of well-being. However, that natural state can be restored by understanding the truth and living in harmony with its light and power. Absolute truth and perfection lie behind all illusions and imperfections of sensory life. By realizing this truth and establishing our thoughts in it, we can shift our thoughts away from negativity, error, and illusion, ultimately finding true health. It's often said that poor health results from sin, but this is a misconception. Believing that illness and poor health are inevitable is a greater sin. The path to a vibrant life is to align our thoughts, actions, and spirit with the divine, which is perfect, whole, and incorruptible. When we dwell on the limitations of the physical body, we disconnect from the divine life force within us. Negative thoughts can harm our health in many ways. Lustful thoughts, for example, can lead to unhappiness and nervous disorders. The divine energy within us gets misdirected, resulting in either overindulgence and physical weakness or repression and its accompanying nervous ailments. Dwelling on impure thoughts will always have negative consequences, whether it manifests as harmful actions or poor health. We must learn to control and redirect our thoughts, not repress them. Repression only creates more problems, while redirection transforms our lives and improves our health. Similarly, harboring thoughts of hate, resentment, ill will, fear, worry, grief, and anxiety can also lead to poor health. These negative emotions lower our body's defenses, making us more susceptible to infections and diseases. It's clear that our mental state and the nature of our thoughts play a significant role in our well-being and cannot be ignored. Trying to treat poor health or disease without addressing the underlying mental causes is futile. True healing involves going to the root of the problem, which often lies in our thoughts. Replacing negative thoughts with positive ones can work wonders over time. Our subconscious mind holds immense power and intelligence. Depending on our thoughts, this power can either build health, harmony, and beauty in our lives, or do the opposite. This power is inherently good, and its intelligence seems limitless, but it goes wherever our thoughts direct it. With our thoughts, we create or destroy, produce good or evil. If all our thoughts are positive and constructive, it follows that our bodies and lives will be built in harmony and perfection. The question is, can this be done? If we are determined to succeed and discipline ourselves to keep going even when things seem impossible, we can achieve our goals. Some people could claim they don't want to be good and that they can't let go of their bad feelings and thoughts. Although it is their decision, they will have to endure suffering in order to learn the lesson they would rather not. Some people could claim that they wish to manage their thoughts but are unable to quit worrying or detesting. This points to the attitude of the heart, which is a more profound source of ill health than the mind alone. According to the scriptures, a person is what they think in their heart. The soul, or the part of us that is feeling and wanting, is referred to as the heart. This is the battleground between the fleshly cravings and the spiritual longings, between our own will and the will of God. Not just mental or bodily problems, but also spiritual problems are the real source of all sadness, discord, and poor health. The former is the primary cause, while the latter are effects that contribute. All illnesses and diseases actually stem from a state of spiritual disharmony. We continue to be a kingdom divided against itself until spiritual concord is restored, which, as our Lord stated, cannot last. Spiritual healing is the only kind that can truly work. True healing cannot occur unless we conquer thoughts of hate, fear, or concern, which we cannot do until this harmony is achieved. Our Lord's recovery was a kind of spiritual healing. Through the forgiveness of sin, transformation of the heart's desires, and alignment of the subject's will with the divine will of the whole, it brought about the restoration of inner harmony. It was achieved by bringing the heart, desires, and will into alignment with the divine rather than by suggestion or the force of human will. We cannot recover our mental health unless we have reconciled with God. Our ideas of hate, venom, and resentment cannot be overcome until we submit to the concept of love. We are unable to quit worrying and fearing unless we submit to the will of God and give the limitless mind control over all of our issues. Mental discipline and thought control are necessary after this inner change has taken place, because we all must work out our own salvation. But the essential thing is the inner surrender of the heart in love and trust. As long as we hate our brother, or fear what the next day may bring, or worry about the things of this life, we can never be well. However, when we have tuned in to divine harmony and learned to control our thoughts and emotions, and to transmute carnal and material desires into loving service, the inevitable result is a state of wholeness. Old, deep-rooted disorders disappear, and a steady improvement in health takes place. To regain health, it is necessary to continually raise ourselves to the divine ideal of health, harmony, and perfection. But this is useless if the clash of personal will with the divine will persists, or if there is hate, malice, envy, or fear in the heart. The stronger will prevail over the smaller will. This is our greatest good, since humanity's joyful ending is the accomplishment of God's will. Love and forgiveness must be present in the heart. Before we can reach that joyful level of rest and worry-free relaxation that is essential for healing, fear must be banished and replaced with trust and total assurance. Harmony is the state of spirit, soul, intellect, and body in which there is a fine balance and adjustment. This harmony is wholly dependent upon the bigger harmony that exists between God and us. This peace is impossible to maintain as long as there is a clash of wills, animosity or hatred, fear or selfishness. Consequently, spiritual harmony is the primary cause of health, and healing is nothing more than the re-establishment of harmony between the heavenly source and humanity. We are founded in unity, and are no longer a kingdom divided against itself when this harmony is restored. Rather than working against the divine laws of our being and the universe, we cooperate with them. The unhindered flow of divine life and force through us facilitates optimal subconscious functioning. Our minds are purified right at the source. Divine unity sets us free. I purposefully delayed the discussion of pain and its impact on health for last. Sufferings in this life cannot be avoided by proper thought. They are a necessary component of life's discipline, and whether or not they prove to be detrimental relies largely on how we handle them. Afflictions become severe when they struggle against life's discipline. However, the attitude of the mind and heart is what causes the agony, not the ailment itself. Grief hurts and destroys happiness and health until the soul is able to sip the cup of grief voluntarily and say, "Thy will be done." But rather than the grief itself, the source of the injury is the heart's hardness. Submission is therefore required, as is an understanding that discipline is required. Yet this does not mean a weakly complacent surrender to suffering and loss. It is true that those who have lost a loved one can never be the same since they grow more mature, wiser, compassionate, and endowed with softer personalities. Even though a loved one will always be in our hearts, that doesn't mean that grief should overcome the heart and leave life in ruins. In such circumstances, the only thing that can calm the mind, appease the spirit, and cure the body is true religion, not religiosity. A sorrowful situation can only be transformed into a gift when one is rooted in the truth, understanding that all is well, that God is perfect, and that there is only change rather than death. When we get to this point, grief is conquered and death is embraced in triumph. Consciously aligning ourselves with our divine source and the divine will and purpose, which seek only our highest good, is the sole solution to all of life's issues. Chapter 7. The Poverty of the Mind. Your outer life is a mirror reflecting your inner world of thoughts. This isn't just a philosophical concept, it's a practical truth that shapes our experiences. Your thoughts and mindset influence your life in two powerful ways. First, your thoughts subconsciously guide your actions, leading you to create or attract circumstances that match your inner state. If you constantly dwell on negativity, you'll likely find yourself in situations that reflect that negativity. Conversely, if you cultivate a positive mindset, you'll naturally attract more positive experiences. Second, you emit an invisible energy that influences others. People are drawn to or repelled by this energy, even if they aren't consciously aware of it. This means that negative thoughts not only affect your actions, but also create an energy that pushes away the very things you desire, like good friends, opportunities, and success. On the flip side, a positive mindset attracts these things to you. This might sound radical, but consider two simple examples. A person in prison for breaking the law is there because of their actions, which stemmed from their thoughts. A successful CEO, on the other hand, has reached their position through hard work and service, driven by constructive thinking and a positive attitude. The Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." In other words, your thoughts shape your outer life and circumstances. This isn't just metaphysics, it's observable in everyday life. Imagine taking someone from a poor neighborhood and placing them in a pleasant environment. Chances are they'll either revert to their old ways or transform their new home into a slum. Conversely, someone with a positive mindset, even if placed in a less desirable environment, will either leave or improve their surroundings. This shows that changing your external environment is pointless unless you first change your internal state. If you fill your mind with new ambitions, ideals, and hopes, you'll eventually rise above your current circumstances and attract a better environment. Often, a person's failures, disharmony, and struggles are outward symbols of their inner weaknesses. They might have plenty of talent, but lack application or perseverance, leading to repeated failures. Blaming external circumstances is easy, but the real cause lies within. To change your circumstances, you must first change yourself. Identify your weaknesses, such as lack of courage, determination, or patience, and work on strengthening them. As you do, you'll find your circumstances gradually improving. This principle of inner change leading to outer change applies to everyone. The universe itself originated from the divine mind and is contained within it. The universe, as imagined in the divine mind, is perfect. We perceive it as imperfect because our perception is limited. The only true reality is infinite perfection and wholeness. Lack and poverty are products of the human mind, not inherent to the universe. Those who live in a consciousness of lack are trapped by limitation and can never escape poverty. It follows them like a shadow because it's a reflection of their inner state. Conversely, those who live in a consciousness of abundance don't worry about supply. Their needs are always met because their mindset reflects abundance. This doesn't mean they are all wealthy, but they trust that their needs will be provided for. Many people view wealth as sinful, but I believe that in our current society, it's unavoidable. Capital is essential for businesses and ventures. However, hoarding wealth is both unwise and unnecessary. Nothing is more detrimental to spiritual growth than excessive riches. There's always hope for those struggling with addiction, but it's incredibly difficult for someone burdened by wealth to enter the kingdom of heaven. Some wealthy individuals do make it, but only because they understand that their riches are not truly theirs. They see themselves as temporary stewards of this wealth. Hoarding wealth is as unnecessary as poverty, both stemming from a fundamental misconception that all supply is material, limited, and therefore something to be hoarded and fought over. The truth is that the source of all supply is spiritual and therefore limitless. Once you grasp this truth, thoughts of poverty or lack vanish. There's no incentive to accumulate wealth because what use is it when your supply is eternally assured? Those who understand this truth hold wealth in little esteem and stop desiring it. People crave wealth because they fear poverty and believe that riches will liberate them from their fears. However, when they realize that their needs will always be met, they no longer desire wealth or its burdens and responsibilities. Wealth is as abnormal as poverty. Jesus demonstrated this by choosing to be poor but not in poverty. In the Sermon on the Mount, he promised adequate provision, not riches, to those who had faith in their heavenly Father. Many people live this way, relying entirely on their spiritual source. They may never become rich, but their needs are always met. This life requires vibrant faith, but its results are as certain as the sunrise. Understanding the truth about provision is the foundation for this faith. You must recognize the absolute falsehood of poverty and lack before you can trust in divine providence or the workings of spiritual law. You must also understand that the universe is spiritual, that God is the spirit in whom we live and move and have our being, and that because we are a small part of the whole, all our needs throughout the ages will be met. Sufficient supply for all our needs is the reality. Poverty and lack, born of fear, ignorance and weakness of character, originate in the human mind and are unreal. Once we learn the truth, we must live in its consciousness, thinking, acting, and praising God as if abundance were already ours. We must avoid spending beyond our means or incurring debt, and instead mentally dwell in an atmosphere of abundance. Remember, the shift in consciousness must occur and be well established before its effects manifest in our external lives. Entering this higher consciousness, where we understand that the source of all supply is spiritual and limitless, is not easy, but it's possible for those who are serious. Living in the consciousness of God's supply and exercising living faith will transform your life, primarily through a change in both conscious and unconscious action. While the source of supply is spiritual, it reaches us through material channels. To partake in it, we must earn it by giving something in return for what we receive from life. Giving something in return for what we receive from life. The secret to abundance, is realizing that there is unlimited abundance and living in that consciousness as fully as if there were no material channels. At the same time, we must work diligently and be as careful as if there were no spiritual supply. We must give the world something it needs or serve in some useful capacity, practicing honesty, integrity, and fairness in all our affairs. It's foolish to expect abundance to fall into our laps. It must be earned through intelligent and faithful service. As a retired businessman who started with nothing, not even good health, I've approached this topic from a business perspective. However, the principle applies to all areas of life, and each reader can adapt this teaching to their particular needs. Chapter 8. Your Inner Genius. The subconscious mind, often overlooked, is the mind of nature itself. It possesses extraordinary power and intelligence, but it lacks inspiration. It's instinctive, animalistic, and natural, but not divine. Rooted in the physical realm, it can be likened to the internal forces of nature residing within our bodies. While some people almost deify the subconscious, it's important to understand its true role. When properly guided, it's a valuable ally, transforming repetitive thoughts and actions into habits that become ingrained in our lives. Through conscious effort and positive thinking, we can create good habits that eventually become automatic, shaping our character and ultimately our lives. The subconscious is a faithful servant, not a god. It lacks inspiration, but is incredibly useful. Most of our actions and movements are performed subconsciously. The saying, "practice makes perfect," rings true because the subconscious learns tasks, freeing our conscious minds from the burden. Think about learning to drive. Initially, it requires immense concentration, but over time, the actions become automatic, thanks to the subconscious. The same applies to playing the piano. Skilled pianists can perform complex pieces without consciously recalling every note. Their subconscious takes over, allowing them to focus on the music itself. Even in writing this very text, my conscious mind isn't doing all the work. It generates thoughts and shapes sentences, but the subconscious does the actual writing. If I had to consciously think about every word and letter, the task would be overwhelming. The subconscious is even more helpful because it does most of our thinking. We can train it to do even more. If we had to laboriously think through everything using logic, life would be unbearable. Instead, our subconscious does most of the heavy lifting, and if given the chance, it will do so with remarkable precision, adhering to the laws of logic without tiring. The more we train our subconscious to think for us, the less we fatigue ourselves. Fatigue is unknown to the subconscious, so we can never overwork it. By delegating specific tasks, we can increase our efficiency and reduce mental fatigue. Those who have mastered thought control can consider an issue from all angles and then hand it off to their subconscious. This can double their efficiency and virtually eliminate mental exhaustion. Instead of laboriously working through problems, they simply release them to the subconscious. Understanding and harnessing the power of the subconscious is key to unlocking our full potential. By consciously directing our thoughts and actions, we can create positive habits and empower our subconscious to work for us, leading to a more efficient, fulfilling, and less stressful life. To harness the extraordinary power of your subconscious mind, a tireless and precise mental powerhouse, you must provide it with all available information. It lacks divine inspiration or wisdom, operating logically based on the facts you feed it. This incredible tireless force within you is capable of even more remarkable feats. Writers, speakers, or preachers can gather notes and ideas for their work and entrust them to their subconscious, instructing it to organize, categorize, and refine them. When it's time to write or prepare, they find the work already done, effortlessly and without fatigue. Similarly, business people who've learned to utilize their subconscious don't need to fret over future plans. They simply present the facts to their subconscious, which handles the planning with effortless efficiency, far surpassing what conscious thought could achieve. Henry Ford, in a recent interview, confirmed this approach. He described how successful business leaders tackle problems by letting ideas simmer in their minds before bringing them to fruition. This aligns perfectly with the concept of delegating to the subconscious. Inventors and engineers can also leverage their subconscious. They gather all relevant information and present it to their subconscious. If a successful outcome is possible, a solution or idea will emerge effortlessly. While this might sound incredible, it's not magic. Many successful individuals, likely unconsciously, already use their subconscious in this way. They naturally engage their whole mind, leading to success and the ability to handle immense responsibilities without stress. These individuals have developed exceptional focus and concentration, delving deep into problems and gathering all possible data. However, they then hand it off to their subconscious to do the heavy lifting and make decisions. While some naturally utilize their subconscious effectively, most people need training. The first step is learning to control your thoughts, to pick up or discard a problem at will. When you pass a problem to your subconscious, let it go completely. Don't dwell on it. Trust your subconscious to handle it. Second, gather all possible details and information related to the problem, visualizing it from all angles before handing it off. This requires high-level thought control, focus, and concentration, all of which can be developed with dedicated practice. One effective technique is to hold the problem in your mind as you fall asleep. Don't try to solve it. Simply present the facts and hand it over to your subconscious as you would to a lawyer. In most cases, you'll wake up with a solution, effortlessly and without fatigue. This is just one of many ways your subconscious can serve you. This invisible force is always at work, weaving any ideal you hold in your mind into your life. Focus on a lofty goal, and you'll concentrate all of nature's invisible forces towards its realization. By directing your attention to the right path and backing it with action, your subconscious will work tirelessly to help you achieve success. Remember, you reap what you sow. Choose your thoughts wisely, and your subconscious will make your dreams a reality. Chapter 9. Tapping into the wisdom of the spiritual mind. While the subconscious mind is remarkable, it's ultimately instinctive, lacking inspiration and what we call originality. True inspiration comes from the universal mind through the superconscious. All inspired poets and writers tap into this source. This higher mind, unrecognized by psychologists, has long been utilized by spiritual seekers. While the subconscious provides results based on the facts and knowledge we feed it, the superconscious or spiritual mind offers direct inspiration from higher planes. This higher mind could also be called the mind of enlightenment. Those who access it become enlightened, able to see the truth and perceive things as they truly are, not as our senses falsely portray them. Our ordinary consciousness is limited by our five senses. The universe we perceive is partly real and partly an illusion. The true universe is spiritual and infinite, while our perception is a limited and partial understanding of a fragment of it. Relying on our senses and the human mind keeps us in darkness and uncertainty. But by elevating our consciousness to the superconscious realm, we transcend the senses and limitations of the physical plane. The spiritual mind is accessible only to those finely tuned to its subtle vibrations. Nothing worthwhile comes without effort and self-discipline. Through these, we can raise our consciousness and understand life from the perspective of the universal mind. There's nothing mystical or psychic about using this higher mind. Those who do so simply develop a spiritual mindset. They don't enter trances or need to become clairvoyant. They remain ordinary individuals, but they utilize their minds more effectively. Accessing the superconscious unlocks the divine quality of originality. Rising above mediocrity requires direct inspiration from higher planes through the superconscious mind. New ideas that enrich humanity and contribute to the common good come through this higher mind. Those properly attuned become receivers of superhuman knowledge and divine wisdom. They know through direct experience, becoming wise through an influx of divine wisdom. They can distinguish between the real and the false, the gold and the dross. They can see and recognize the right path in life, something impossible for the sensory mind, and they can walk that path, leading to true success and fulfillment. Wisdom must originate internally. Books and written words can be useful, but what really brings the words to life and illuminates them is the reader's spirit. People are well on their road to enlightenment when they acknowledge that the Holy Spirit has lit them from the inside, and that this is the only path to true understanding. The human mind's knowledge invariably ends in disappointment. Since its foundation is faulty sensory evidence, its conclusions must always be devoid of actual wisdom. Those who believe that heavenly wisdom inspires them frequently have to make choices that don't seem to be in their best interests. But if people listen to their inner wisdom, they discover that their guidance is always accurate, and later have good reason to be thankful that they followed the divine spark. Chapter 10. The Secret to Self-Improvement. Character development is the ultimate goal of life. It's been said that character is the only thing we take with us when we leave this world, and this is profoundly true. Therefore, the purpose of all religion, mental training, and personal development should be to build character. A religion that doesn't build character is worthless. Those who believe they can coast through life, avoiding discipline and making no effort to improve their character, are fooling themselves. Simply believing in a certain creed or dying won't magically make you perfect. We become strong and perfect, not through belief or death, but through achievement. God helps those who help themselves, and those who don't strive for better things cut themselves off from the glorious possibilities of reaching them. But before we delve into lofty goals like embarking on the path of self-realization and transforming ourselves in the divine image, most people want to know how to overcome the bad habits and weaknesses that hold them back and potentially harm their health. Most of us are aware of bad habits we should break and weaknesses we should overcome. We may have struggled with them for years, prayed endlessly, and made countless attempts to change, but to no avail. Many give up the fight and try to lead a double life, outwardly appearing righteous while inwardly struggling. But this brings no satisfaction, as they know they're drifting towards an abyss. There is a way out, however, a path open to everyone. We possess seemingly limitless powers that can either build up or destroy our lives and character. These powers reside in the subconscious mind. This mind is a reservoir of boundless energy, becoming our best friend when used correctly, and our worst enemy when misused. Every wrong action creates changes in our nervous system, storing energy in certain cells, and making it easier to repeat the same mistake. Conversely, every good action creates similar changes in the opposite direction, making it easier to repeat the good deed. This explains the immense power of habit. Our bodies, brains, and nervous systems change for better or worse depending on our actions. We are not yet fully aware of the incredible adventure that is life. We're entrusted with tremendous powers, and through their use or misuse, we can either destroy ourselves or build our character in countless ways. What a responsibility, but what a glorious opportunity. To break free from bad habits and weaknesses, we must go beyond the surface. Actions are effects of hidden causes, and the cause of all action is thought. A thought, as someone once said, is an action in the process of being born. While we have primitive desires and impulses, we can transform them into noble actions and achievements by directing our thoughts and attention toward higher things. For example, the powers of sex can be transmuted into brain power if thoughts and attention are shifted from sex to intellectual pursuits. If, on the other hand, we dwell on sex or passion, we become divided against ourselves and start to drift towards the abyss. The key to overcoming our challenges and living a fulfilling life lies in understanding and mastering the power of our subconscious mind. By consciously directing our thoughts and actions, we can create positive habits, break free from destructive patterns, and build a character that will lead us to true success and happiness. The stress of modern life is filling our mental institutions, yet some thrive on working 15 or even 18 hours a day, even in mentally taxing jobs. They've learned to transmute their lower energies into higher ones, not through esoteric practices, but by obeying the divine command to set your affection on things above. In other words, focusing our thoughts and attention on higher goals, ambitions, and pursuits is key. Fighting bad habits is futile. The more we resist, the stronger they become. The command to resist not evil applies to habits as well. The way out isn't by fighting the bad habit, but by focusing on building a good habit that undermines it, or by redirecting our attention to higher things. Our subconscious mind strives to actualize whatever we focus on or idealize. Fighting a habit only directs subconscious attention to it, which is counterproductive. Instead, focusing on something higher and better channels the subconscious's power toward creating that new reality in our lives and bodies. We don't overcome the habit, we bypass it. Our willpower is no match for the subconscious mind. While the subconscious can be guided by imagination, it can't be forced by will. The will should be used not to fight the habit, but to elevate and redirect our attention. This forms a new habit, shifting the subconscious mind's focus away from the old one and channeling its power towards creating a better one. The subconscious doesn't care if a habit is good or bad. It's equally willing to create either. Therefore, we hold our destiny in our hands. By controlling our thoughts and imagination and focusing on positive things, we can harness the subconscious to build good habits. Conversely, dwelling on undesirable things and focusing on low ideals leads to undesirable habits. The power that creates habits is the same. What matters is how we direct it. Right thinking and imagination must be accompanied by the right action. Autosuggestion alone won't break bad habits or create better ones without action. It's useless unless followed by constructive action. Young people should focus on physical activity and games, while older individuals should engage in hobbies and intellectual pursuits. Only advanced students can control their thoughts enough to govern their vital forces mentally. Beginners, when tempted by negative thoughts, should engage in a different activity to redirect their attention. The goal is to channel desires and vital forces into different channels by controlling thoughts and attention. This is where true religion shines, as it introduces new ideals and directs attention towards higher things. However, even after this inner change occurs, the battle has just begun. Each of us must work out our own salvation. Initially, most people need to take action to redirect their attention away from the unwanted habit. Later, as they become more proficient in right thinking, they can direct their thoughts at will. This requires constant vigilance, carefully scrutinizing each thought before allowing it to enter the mind. By reversing every negative thought into its opposite, we create a change in the brain and nervous system. Cells previously used for wrong thinking and actions become unused, while new ones are employed for right actions. This leads to a higher stage where reversing bad thoughts and performing the right actions becomes a habit. For example, the habit of brushing teeth initially feels uncomfortable until it's done. Similarly, when a messy person learns to be clean, they'll feel uncomfortable if they get dirty. The same applies to more important habits. Those enslaved by habits can overcome them by focusing on building good habits. Their old weaknesses will naturally die out. However, victory over lifelong habits isn't easy. Temptations will arise, potentially leading to setbacks. If this happens, don't dwell on it. Learn from the experience and move on. Remember, not only is the subconscious willing to be guided correctly, but if we persevere until perseverance becomes a habit, we'll have all the spiritual powers of God behind us. The infinite ensures the odds aren't stacked against us. Our difficulties are not insurmountable. We can always overcome if we don't give up. Heaven watches with compassionate interest, rejoicing with the fighters when they triumph, and grieving with them when they fail. The struggle is hard, but those who seek God can become strong in character. Victory is always possible, even when the situation seems hopeless. Remember, there's always a way out, and God, your freedom and liberator, will reveal it if you don't give up. If all who seek liberation realize that the power of the infinite is on their side, and that they are destined to become victors, they must succeed. May every reader experience the supreme joy of overcoming habits and weaknesses of character. There's no happiness comparable to that of the one who has fought the good fight and won. Chapter 11. Unmasking the Illusion of Happiness. Deep within every heart resides an insatiable desire for happiness. The evolved soul craves it as much as the pleasure-seeking individual. The difference lies in their approach. The evolved soul, through knowledge and experience, understands that happiness cannot be found through direct pursuit. Instead, it's discovered through service, love for others, and self-mastery. Meanwhile, the pleasure seeker chases happiness like a fleeting mirage, exploring every form of gratification, yet never quite grasping it. Humans are rarely content with their lives, always seeking something better until they learn wisdom. They seek it in pleasure, sensory indulgence, wealth, luxury, and possessions. The less evolved a person is, the more convinced they are that happiness can be found in these external things, and the lower their desires tend to be. Those in the underbelly of society, for example, may seek happiness in vice and debauchery. Those who are more evolved may seek it in intellectual pursuits, friendships, and pure human love. These more evolved individuals experience greater pleasure through their senses than those who are less developed, but they are also capable of greater suffering. They can derive immense joy from an art gallery, while someone less refined might see nothing of interest. However, they can also suffer deeply over things that wouldn't affect someone less sensitive. Despite this refinement and ability to find pleasure in art, science, literature, and more, happiness remains elusive. All attempts to find it ultimately lead to emptiness. There is no lasting satisfaction in wealth, success, fame, or power. They may initially seduce and promise happiness, but they ultimately fail us, revealing themselves as mere vanity and vexation of the spirit. This desire for happiness, however, is not in vain. It leads us through countless experiences, allowing our souls to realize the futility of self-seeking and thus learn wisdom. After exploring the full spectrum of experiences, the soul finally learns that happiness is not something to be found by searching, but is an inner state of mind. True happiness is not found in external things, but in the cultivation of inner peace, love, and wisdom. When we stop chasing fleeting pleasures and focus on our inner world, we open ourselves to the possibility of lasting happiness. While a job well done and career success bring temporary satisfaction, they can't fulfill the soul's deeper yearning. True happiness lies in service, not when we seek happiness through service, but when we serve others for the sake of serving. Observe those who selfishly hoard and seek only their own gain. They're never truly happy, whether rich or poor. Conversely, even a small, selfless act of kindness can bring a spark of pure joy. This reveals a fundamental law of life, as certain as gravity. There must be a purpose in life, and that purpose must be to improve the lives of others. The law of service must be obeyed, or happiness remains elusive. This might seem daunting if your current occupation doesn't appear to benefit anyone. You might think true service is only possible through noble endeavors for humanity's betterment. This is a natural thought, but the truth is that we can all obey the law of service, starting right now in our current roles. We simply need to shift our perspective. Instead of viewing our daily work as a chore or a means to an end, we can offer it as an act of love to the world. To align with the law of service, we must reevaluate our ideas about the value of different occupations. From a higher perspective, even menial tasks, when done faithfully and with a true spirit of service, hold as much value as writing a masterpiece or dying for your country. Every act of service is equally important. The higher law only looks at the motive, so even in the humblest occupation, you can find happiness by fulfilling the law of service. Another path to happiness is conquering our lower nature, overcoming weaknesses, and striving for higher things. There's immense joy in realizing that old habits are being broken, weaknesses strengthened, and that we're moving towards greater freedom. We're not bound to remain as we once were. We can continually progress upwards. But joy is a state that transcends happiness even more. Serving others and bettering oneself will bring happiness, but joy will only come to those who recognize their unity with their heavenly source. Ineffable delight is reality. There is a true spiritual realm of magnificence and delight hidden beyond this world of shadows. The soul experiences an immense joy that is beyond words when it eventually returns to its heavenly source, following a protracted trip through matter, time, and space. It becomes filled with this ineffable delight itself, not merely seeing that reality is joy and that the universe is full of the laughter of liberated souls. What relevance does this have to daily life? Everything. A person with this kind of peaceful joy is unbeatable in life's struggles. They have an inexhaustible force within them that propels them from triumph to triumph. Chapter 12. Playing with Fire. The dangers of manipulating spiritual forces. The average person knows little about the power of their mind, and while they may suffer the consequences of unconscious negative thinking, they're unlikely to deliberately misuse their inner powers. However, those who have learned to harness these inner forces must be cautious. These invisible powers of the mind and spirit can be far more destructive than dynamite if used incorrectly. This doesn't mean you can blow yourself up, but you can certainly harm yourself, not just in this life, but for centuries to come, severely hindering your spiritual evolution. Using your mind to coerce or manipulate others for your own gain is highly destructive, not just for them, but for you. It may seem like an easy path to success and prosperity, but it ultimately leads to failure and poverty. Misusing mental powers in this way is akin to black magic, and the fate of black magicians is dire. Even using your mind to coerce others for their supposed benefit is undesirable. It never truly helps, even if it seems beneficial in the short term, and should be avoided. Healing through suggestion is not permanent. As soon as the healer stops, the patient often relapses. It's far more effective to teach patients to use auto-suggestion for themselves. Using your mind to influence others is clearly harmful if done selfishly, and ultimately unhelpful even if done with good intentions. Hypnosis is harmful regardless of how it's used, and it's detrimental to the patient. That's why some of our most thoughtful neurologists have abandoned it. We have no right to try to influence others with our inner powers, even if our goal is their well-being. Each soul has the right to live their own life and choose good or evil. That's the purpose of life, for each evolving soul to learn wisdom through the lessons of their own mistakes. It's far worse to manipulate others for personal gain, such as tricking them into buying unnecessary goods or signing agreements they wouldn't otherwise agree to. Those who misuse their mental and spiritual powers are essentially sabotaging their own lives. They work against the laws of life and the universe, bringing about their own ruin. Misuse of these abilities can take even more subtle forms than mental dominance, suggestion, or coercion. This approach is equally harmful, and if continued, results in a difficult future. It is the application of human will to coerce the subtle forces of nature, not the influencing or ruling of others. Wealth is thought to appear when mental demands are placed on the invisible substance from which all things are said to be produced. Sickness is exorcised, and the unseen powers of existence are forced to fashion a comfortable and easy life, bereft of any real difficulties or opportunities for personal development. Although some who adopt this method may appear successful at first, they will later come to regret it. Their practices are similar to those of witchcraft, and they engage in black magic. These practices make the soul's evolutionary journey far more difficult and accrue a large debt of future pain. While it is good to spend some time in solitude, true silence is found only within the soul, in the inner sanctuary where the Holy Spirit resides in fullness. Force our human will onto existence to comply with our goals by using inner force for self-serving, materialistic ends is a serious crime that will inevitably lead to failure and disaster. Chapter 13. Transforming your life by shifting your consciousness. Overcoming limitations is possible through realizing the truth, but this doesn't just mean physical effort. While taking care of your body is important, true liberation comes from shifting your consciousness. For instance, if poor health is your limitation, you must embrace the awareness of God's wholeness and divine design. If limited resources are your struggle, you must live in the consciousness of the inexhaustible and limitless substance from which the Creator brings everything into manifestation. If disharmony and unhappiness are your burdens, you must align yourself with divine harmony until it reflects in your outer life. No matter your limitation, liberation can be found by looking to your divine source, realizing that in perfect reality, all your needs are met, and then living in the consciousness of this truth. Poor health, aside from physical causes, is often an external sign of inner turmoil caused by misaligned thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and attitudes toward life and God. In other words, life is being lived in a false consciousness of illness and disease. You have to first bring your inner life into harmony with the divine purpose of life and the principles of your being in order to heal. This entails giving in to the idea of love and taking charge of your thoughts to stop negative emotions from endangering your well-being. You also have to raise your consciousness to recognize reality as the flawless totality. Following this route leads to the permanent mental state of awareness of health and completeness, which shows up as physical well-being. Your inner condition or consciousness is always reflected in your external life. All the inner forces of those who inhabit the mental atmosphere of divine completeness, health and harmony are involuntarily directed toward well-being. On the other hand, people who live in unhealthful mental environments frequently bring about illness and disease. In a similar vein, one might transcend a spiritual shortage of resources by cultivating a greater consciousness of sufficiency and abundance. This modifies your behavior unconsciously, which results in better situations. People who unintentionally generate scarcity in their lives are those who exist in a mindset of constraint and lack. This principle applies to any limitation. Freedom comes from realizing the truth about life and being. When you understand and live in this truth, becoming obedient to the laws of life, your life becomes increasingly free. This doesn't mean physical imperfections will vanish, but they'll no longer hold you back. Others will see something deeper in you than mere appearances. When your soul is alive and filled with love, even the plainest face becomes attractive. It also doesn't mean you won't face sorrows, difficulties, or adversity, but you'll stop magnifying these things and creating more problems by approaching life's challenges with the wrong attitude. You'll overcome difficulties, forge character through adversity, and emerge stronger from life's storms. Your destiny isn't determined by the storms of life, but by how you face them. If you surrender or resist them, believing they are evil rather than necessary discipline, you'll be shipwrecked. But armed with the knowledge of truth, you can navigate these storms and reach your desired destination. The first step towards knowing the truth is through right thinking. Every negative thought must be transformed into its positive counterpart, hate into love, fear into trust, poverty into abundance, evil into good. This isn't easy, but it's possible, and your power to control your thoughts grows with persistent practice. A beginner can't expect the same control as someone who has diligently sought self-mastery for years, but significant progress can be made day by day. The results of this kind of thinking are astonishing. Thought reversal may seem simplistic at first, leading nowhere in particular, but over time the vastness of its impact becomes clear. Cultivating and practicing right thinking gradually leads to a knowledge of the truth, not just intellectual knowledge, but a soul-deep realization. This is the knowledge that liberates. You can look across the ages and know that all is well. The heavy burdens that once oppressed you fall away and you become free. Humans are heirs to marvelous and unlimited powers, but until we become aware of them and consciously identify with them, they remain dormant and unexpressed. They might as well not exist in terms of their usefulness to us in our unawakened state. However, when we awaken to the truth of our spiritual being, when we understand that our small self and limited personality are merely masks hiding our true essence, a new life unfolds. We realize that our true identity is the spiritual ego, a divine spark or offshoot of the eternal Logos. Our body, mind, and even soul are merely vehicles for this divine spark to manifest. In essence, we are immortal spirits, free from disease, eternal, and an inseparable part of the one Spirit. Jesus said, "I am the vine, you are the branches." It's unwise to use mystical practices to force development. Mystical trances are dangerous and unnecessary. Psychic experiences and awakening psychic centers are also perilous and lead us away from our goal. Breathing exercises aimed at awakening inner forces are hazardous and should be condemned. Cultivating negative passivity, such as inhibiting all thought and becoming open to any influence, is also dangerous and should be strictly avoided. Instead, set aside a short time each night and in the morning if possible to connect with reality. Strive to understand that your body, mind, and soul are merely vehicles of expression, servants of the true self or ego. This will gradually bring about an awareness of identity with the eternal spirit, what Jesus called our Father in heaven. You could affirm, "My body is not me, but merely something that allows me to live this material life and gain experience. My mind is not me, but just an instrument I use and that obeys my will. My soul is not me, but just a garment of my spirit. My will is not me, but something I, the true self, make use of." Through this practice, you gradually approach the great truth that cannot be expressed in words and can only become yours through inner spiritual realization or understanding. Additionally, you can use a positive affirmation of truth, reverently but with full confidence, such as, "I am a branch of the true vine." Over time, you will gain a sense of tremendous and unlimited power and security. This is a great responsibility, as this power must be used only in service, not for selfish ends. If used for acquiring wealth or temporal power, the inevitable result will be disaster. However, if used correctly, it will have a great, albeit unconscious, influence for good in the world, for which you are not responsible. Strive constantly to serve and bless others, and then, without seeking them, blessings will come into your life unbidden, with great happiness being one of the main ones. Having found the kingdom of heaven, you will experience that all the good you need will be added to you. This power can also be used to strengthen character, overcome inner conflicts, and build the spiritual body that will be our vehicle of expression in the higher realms. Conclusion. The lessons of Henry T. Hamblin serve as a compelling reminder of our all-encompassing potential. It highlights the close relationship between our ideas, deeds, and the world we make. We are all capable of overcoming obstacles, finding true pleasure, and making a positive impact on the world if we use our intellect, align with universal laws, and choose to live a life of service. With the help of this inspirational message, we may uncover our inner strength, set out on a path of self-discovery, and create a life that brings us happiness, contentment, and purpose. Waiting to be released is the key that holds the key to realizing our greatest potential. Please think about subscribing if you enjoy this audiobook. Many thanks. Many